Yes, you do that.
Yes.
But what do you do before? Is there anything you do before that? To identify the problem, what would you do?
No, this one
Then you collect the data.
ทำยังไงอะ
And this is why hex maps are good, because you can rearrange to look at something, and then you can put it back. And that's what's good about these hex maps, because it's hard to do when you write it on paper. You have the first person to write it has put the answer in. This allows you to rearrange and to try some new ideas, and then to put it back again. I like the hex maps as a way of thinking. It makes you think, and it's fluid. You can still change it, even after you agree. But I'm curious about the identifier. If I was sick and I went to my doctor, what's the first thing the doctor does?
Diagnostic. Diagnose.
Yes, but what's the very first thing before the diagnostic the doctor does?
Ask you the question.
And what is the question he asks?
To take the question
say?
about the symptom.
Yeah.
No, before even the symptoms.
Before the symptoms.
If I went to a doctor and the doctor says, I write you the pills, even if the very first thing my doctor says, if I come to him, suppose I go back to my doctor and he says, are you okay?
Yeah.
How have you been? And I say, I'm feeling much better. I've lost a bit of weight. He says, you've been on holiday. I said, I've been to Penang, working. You should have eaten more rice for breakfast.
นั่นคือการ identify
Then, can you see what's happened? The very first thing the doctor does, what is it? How are you? And the very first thing, if someone comes
Introduction.
to my village...
Introduction. I mean.
Yes, introduction. So if you come to my village and I have my water problem with your school students, and then the very first thing you say is, how are you? I say, not good, the water's very dirty.
To make a relationship. Good
Yes,
relationship.
And what
Good
do they call
relationship.
that? Yes, there's a word I had on the screen.
Good relationship.
What was that? There was a word I showed you at the very start.
Rapport.
เล็บพอ
Rapport, yes,
Rapport.
yes, rapport,
Rapport.
relationship. But there was a word I put on the screen that it describes that. Do you remember what it was? It was part of this process. Yes, it is analysed, but it's build rapport and relationship. That is a very important, because if you don't do that, it's like me coming to Penang and saying, I have examined the literature and the data, and here is your problem.
Cultural. Culture.
Yes, and it's cultural too. What's the word? It starts
Empathy.
Yes. And
Empathy.
teachers are so good at empathy. We are so good at empathy, we forget we do it sometimes. Because we are masters. When we see a student, I say, you're looking sad. Are you okay? I can see you're pleased about your homework result. You must understand your friend. Because after you've had that fight in the schoolyard, you've upset her, and your parents will not be pleased either. So we are very good at empathy, at reading it in people, that we think anyone can do it. But sometimes we expect students, and so we're teaching empathy. But we forget that's the very first thing we do. And sometimes countries are very bad at empathy. They tell each other countries what to do without understanding it's a very complicated problem with many cultural issues.
So the first word is empathy.
Isn't it? Yeah. Empathy is actually very important. And I think sometimes this identify, that's what you were talking about, isn't it? Yeah. Maybe you could make another card called empathy, or you could write this one on here as well. Because identify still sounds like...
Outside.
Empathy,
Empathy is inside.
yes, and I think you were both right. You were saying relationships, and what were you saying?
เล็บพอ
Yeah, rapport. Yeah.
Rapport.
And I think together that becomes empathy. Yeah. And maybe that would be the first step here. So you've got reflect here, and that would be part of evaluate.
Yes.
And then maybe then you would apply the problem and the creation. I like how you put this data collection here. This is nicely done here. How it flows through here. Then you compare your answers. So this is nice how it flows through here. Maybe you've still got a card there.
With the 13 cards.
Yeah, maybe
Empathy.
you could put something there.
So we have to.
And I like the apply. Would the apply would be with reflect and evaluate, or would you? Yeah. You're doing some wonderful work here. I'm very impressed with it. And this is the part I like most. I think you've done really well here with unpacking the data collection. I like this. This is unique. It's nice how you built this up. What was this here? Was this trying to make it come back from the
Yeah.
So look, we made the cycle.
That's nice.
That process is the cycle process.
I like that. And
It
becomes a loop.
the
Yeah,
loop,
the
yes,
loop,
the
yeah.
cycle process.
Yeah.
So we have to redesign if the.
Maybe you could. I don't know. It's just, yeah, have fun. This is fun. Thank you for joining in with this. Are you enjoying this activity?
Oh, sure.
Good.
Do you think you would do this back at your school?
Sure.
I have a special thing that cuts out hexes. It's like a for fabric. You know when you make quilts? My
Yeah.
wife likes making quilts
Like
on
that?
the bed. It's
Ah.
like a blanket with coloured shapes.
Okay.
And what she would do is she'd cut it out. So I have a tool that cuts out hexes.
To produce?
And I can make it with paper. She gets angry because she prefers fabric. Yes, she prefers fabric. But I make it out of paper, so I can cut them, and then I give my students the little pieces of paper, and then they make it.
Oh, okay.
And it's good because it starts a conversation, and in fact, the conversation is more important sometimes than just the hex mapping.
Education college I use in the teaching the organic chemistry
Yes.
and use the gas.
Yeah. See, I do with my chemistry. You can see here
Yes.
the atom, and you have the electron, the nucleus, and
Yes.
and the positive, and then on the electron shells I can put here, and then
The
on
nucleus.
I can put the proton. And you can see how I use this for chemistry. Thank you very much.
Yeah.